Hey, how's it going, guys? I'm Ricky Summer, and this is not a review of Satisfactory. But first, a message from our sponsor.
Inner Rim Excavations. Building the future.
Alright, welcome to Satisfactory. Satisfactory has just this week released on Steam. It's been exclusive to the Epic Store for, I think, a year. It's been exclusive to the Epic Store for a minute, in early access, and it's released onto Steam just this week, still in early access. I was kind of under the impression that they were going to release on Steam with version 1.0. That's not the case. It's still early access. It's had 3 major updates, and just for context, I last played this much closer to the initial Epic Store release, so I haven't really revisited it with each update, so I might be talking about features, elements of the game that have been in for a little while, but I'm just experiencing them now. So this is just like a general look at the current state of the game as it is re-releasing on Steam. Cool. Okay, so if you somehow have no idea what Satisfactory is, or Factorio, it's Factorio in 3D, but if that means nothing to you, you get dropped down onto a planet. You have to mine resources that then get refined in smelters that then go to other machines that produce other resources that split off into other machines and produce other resources. It's a logistics automation game. Building logistics automation game. Yeah. If you know what Factorio is, it's Factorio in 3D, but not quite. Factorio still has, a lot of charm that cannot be beat. And not just because it was the original, but because it does things differently. It's a procedural map, it's different every time. In Satisfactory, the map is set. That being said, it is a big map, and I appreciate that, but it is set. Okay, so I've started my game here in the new desert world. Starting location. It's all one world, but you pick where you start. So there's like a foresty, grassy, plainy area. There's there's like a jungle area. I think that's the other one. I never play in the jungle. There's 2 deserts. There's 2 deserts. I'm in the new desert, and I gotta say, it's fantastic. It marks it as being like super hard. Dude, it's friggin' easy. The only hard thing about it is there's not a lot of biomass around, which you use early on for powering everything, but you just go for a little bit of a walk. Like you can see over there, there's trees, you can get biomass there. There's an oasis there, you can get biomass there. You just go for a little bit of a walk and it's fine. But you've got a lot of resource nodes really close to where you start. Right over there, super close, you got coal, and coal's usually a bitch to get, dude. Oh, buddy, I was playing in my buddy Steven's game a few nights ago, and it was a mess trying to find coal where he started. And then over there's water, because coal's been updated to need water in the process now. Anyway, so let me walk you through my base. Let's talk about the game in a general sense and what I think about it. When it first released on the Epic Store, I was kind of not into it, because I saw it as just a worse Factorio. It's Factorio in 3D, which I didn't want. I don't care about that. But look, it's more refined now. I gotta say, the first thing that struck me is it runs so much better. Initially, it would actually heat up my GPU to 90 degrees. It was friggin' ridiculous. Now it's smooth and it's fine. It's beautiful. A couple of stutters here and there, but it's generally much nicer to play. Okay, so this is my factory. This is my coal power plant area. We've got kind of the tier 1 basic resource production in this factory here, expanded up onto the roof because I ran out of room, and I wanted to listen. It's always screws. You run out of screws first, so I had to double up my screw production on the roof, and that's fine. Sounds like my Friday night. Am I right, boys? Oh no. Okay, so that's a thing that the friggin' town was a nightmare to get down from, I gotta tell you. Alright, so if you're a Factorio, I'm gonna talk about Factorio a lot, just because I feel like Factorio came first, and that was the first of that sort of game. Like, there may have been games that handled that sort of thing, like the logistics, building, resource management. What's the other word I used? You know what I mean. You know what type of game Factorio is. There might have been other games that did a similar thing, but Factorio is really, it's the one that that really hit all those points and made them satisfying and then really blew up. And I don't personally know of any game that does that exact thing. You know, there's like production line games, there's automation games, but there's nothing else really other than Satisfactory and Factorio that do this very specific kind of thing in this way. So I'm going to talk about Factorio a lot because I love Factorio, and Factorio is going to be hard to beat for me. But finally, I'm glad to say, after really not liking Satisfactory initially, in its current state, I'm quite enjoying it. And it scratches a different itch. There's something that Satisfactory gives that Factorio, it does, but to a lesser extent. I feel like Satisfactory gives me more of a feeling of, like, this is it's my personal base. It's my home, you know? And I think there are two reasons it does this. Firstly, it's much smaller scale, right? So Factorio is, in many ways, impersonal, you know? You build an assembler, but it's not the only one. That's like the first assembler. Then there's going to be hundreds and hundreds of them. So you never like have that pet assembler, which I know it might sound weird, but you don't look at your factory in Factorio and necessarily go, yeah, I remember placing that assembler, and that was a nice moment. You know, you don't single out individual like little components of your base. You might look at your base as a whole and go, yes, this is my base and it's magnificent. In that way, or contrary to that, Satisfactory feels a little bit more personal because the scope is smaller. And it's also, you know, your boots on the ground, you know, you're walking around the base physically from a first-person point of view. That helps too. That is less interesting for me. Like I said, I was never really hanging out for, like, I was never playing Factorio and going, yo, I really wish that this was first-person 3D. I never did that. I like 2D games. Sometimes more than 3D games. They're perfectly fine for me. Anyway, so this is where we're sucking up water, and this is something I hadn't experienced before, because last time I played, coal power was just done by plopping down the power plant, and you funnel coal into it, and that was it. Now you have to also pipe water, and I gotta say, this was tedious, but also fun. That's one of the things that the 3D first-person perspective gives that Factorio can't. Is the verticality. That was an odd sentence, but you know what I mean. It gives verticality, and that makes it... that's a nice addition. I appreciate that. I enjoy that. Building up instead of just out, which you kind of have to have because the map is not infinite, like in Factorio. In Factorio, you can just sprawl out forever, and it's great. In this, you have to build up to save space. Anyway, so it's pumping water. Listen, I was concerned that this was going to be a real pain in the ass, but it was actually fine. I only had to build one additional pump on the line. So I'm just going to show you, like, I realize we're very likely not going to do much building here. It's probably just going to be more show and tell. But essentially how this works is, so usually you'll have like a structure that's got like a pipe port, and then you'll grab this thing here and you'll, you know, pipe out, but we can't do that right now. So we'll put down like a little pipe support. We can pretend that that's like the outlet for the water pump, and then you lay pipe out from that. Well, I haven't got the resources for it. I gotta say, the pipe laying was a lot easier than I expected, based on how finicky it is to get, how difficult it is to get all the conveyor belts straight, especially without the use of foundations. Buddy, I was ready for pipes to cause me to pull my hair out. It really wasn't that bad. There's a little bit more of a tolerance on the pipes, in my opinion, compared to the conveyor belts. And that's one thing that I really didn't like with the initial release of Satisfactory. Not that anything's really changed, but it was just like a culture shock, you know? Coming from Factorio, where everything's confined to a grid, in Satisfactory, you do have a grid sometimes, but you can also just place wherever the math you want, you know? And I hated that. I didn't think I was this type of person, but I might actually be a little bit of a type A person. I love having things organized and straight and beautiful. You know, I do like chaos, but I like order in the chaos. Okay, so we just came from the water pump and the mines. So we've got iron, which isn't actually, it's not yet connected to the network because we don't really need it yet. We've got another iron and we've got copper. And they're being fed down these conveyor belts along with the water pipe, which I love. It's this big arterial, you know, not quite a bus, but yeah, I guess it's maybe a bus. And that's feeding into my smelting house. I gotta remember to talk about this. We'll get there, don't worry. Look, there's some things to talk about. It's not all hunky-dory, but it's like, I'm enjoying it. I cannot stress how much more I'm enjoying it compared to how much I disliked the game initially. And it's just taken a little bit of polish and a few more systems thrown in, I guess. So I've just got 4 smelters. I've got... So with the... Alright, let me explain the process bit by bit. Oh, this is the pump, by the way, that ensures that we're still pushing water up the line here, and that does require power. Anyway, so we've got iron comes in, gets split off into 2 iron smelters. Same deal with the copper, 2 copper smelters. Not really using a lot of copper I'm using a lot of it, but not in my automation yet. Then here we go. So the way I've got my production set up, I love that you can jump on everything. It's ridiculous, but it helps to look down. So the way I've got everything set up, one of my iron ingot lines is using more than the other, so they're unbalanced by the end. And I thought, is there a way to balance this? Yeah, there is. I did a little Googling, and you can do it. So how do I explain this? So you've got 2 splitters. 2 splitters. It's hard to see because I sort of had to cram it into this weird too small a space area, but it's cool that you can find those creative solutions and build vertically what you would build, you know, horizontally in Factorio. So you've got 2 splitters there and there, which each split off into 2 mergers, and then the mergers come out, and that's our iron. And this should be perfectly balanced. So we're not balancing up near the factory, which maybe I should be doing, but rather, because you can see this one's moving. Is it moving faster? Well, maybe not, but it was moving faster before because I was using this one a lot more than the other. So because I was using one more than the other, now that they're going to balance right at the source, so I should have equal amounts of iron going out to my automation. And also we've got a little crafting bench here, and this is nice that you can build these sort of things. So this is, you can't, forgive me if I'm like going over the basics too much. I'm trying to cater this video to both people who have never played the game before and people who want to see, you know, what is different or from Factorio or different from initial release or whatnot. So we're gonna throw in the kitchen sink at this one. So you can't craft in your personal inventory like you can in Factorio. I think, I don't know. Well, look, this is a whole other thing. So you do it at these little stations. Now, normally you've got a hub, which I'll show you the hub in a second. That's like your first building you put down, and that's where you can craft manually. I got to be honest, I kind of hate this. So the way this is done is, so like you select your recipe, and it's just like you would craft manually in Factorio, but you have to do it at a station, which is fine. I'm not worried about that. But then you also have to do it manually. So in order to craft these screws, I have to hold the mouse button down for as long as I want to be crafting screws. I hate this. Pro tip, you can use the spacebar instead, which like I have to just to avoid RSI. But I kind of think that's bad. To me, that's bad game design, because that's grindy. Now you could argue that, well, hey, you shouldn't be crafting manually anyway. You should be setting up machines to do it, you know, automatically. Yeah, that's fair point. Absolutely fair point. But at that point, this tedious manual crafting feels like more of a deterrent to say, hey, yo, you should be doing automatic crafting instead. Like, I get it. Why can't you just like make this less tedious? Like, I want to be able to put in like a recipe. I want this many screws. Click, let it do it automatically while I go off and do something else. That would be much better in my opinion. But that's the way it is. That's one of the one of the things that hasn't changed that I really dislike is that sort of grindy manual crafting. It just honestly just hurts my forearm to do it. And here's the hub where you can do the exact same thing here. Luckily you can move the main structures now. Maybe, I'm not sure if you could before, but you can definitely move them, which is great. So I started off with my hub up on the rocks there, and now I've moved it more central. This is good. It's a nice little city square in here. This is what I'm talking about. You know, like you. This is one thing that Satisfactory has up on its competition. It's that, you know, your boots on the ground, and I feel an attachment to sections of my base. Like, you know, this is where I come to do all my manual sundry stuff, research, crafting equipment, crafting resources. We got the fix it coupon station, awesome shop, that's what it's called. We will talk about this later, make no mistake. Yeah, there's like a personal ownership to it, and I can make it look nice. You know, I've set up my hand railing here, which I don't need, but it makes it look like it's lived in. It's a proper factory. That's something Factoria has, you know, less of. You know, it's more hard numbers, you know, just getting that pomp out, getting those resources. The factory must grow, and I absolutely appreciate that. All I'm saying is, like, I feel like now there's a place for both of them. Satisfactory is no longer just a worse Factorio, which is definitely that was my opinion initially. So I'm really glad to see. Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I enjoy it now, and I'm happy about that. Words are difficult sometimes. English is technically my second language. Anyway, so let's continue on with the production line here. So smelted resources come out here. As you can see, I've raised the copper over this sort of walkway here, just because I you know, look, I'm a stickler for things being straight and for things looking like they can function as real factories, you know. So yes, you can jump over the conveyor belts, but why jump over them if I can if I can set up a nice little walkway that's actually, you know, health and safety standards, you know, OH&S. And I got another little walkway there. I love this one. So this one enters through the back of the equipment workshop. Look at that. I love that. Friggin' love that. This is where my conch gets stored because it's getting produced up there. So let's have a look at the concrete for a second. So this is our stone mine, which was like right in the middle of the base. That's the first thing I built, pretty much. So that gets conveyed up. Again, like you'll see a lot of this in my base. In my factory, I guess you'd call it. What are these even called? They are... Oh, they're right there. It's conveyor lift. I'm blind. Yeah, that's a conveyor lift. So, I mean, I could have just ramped up the conveyor, but it would have been ugly. It looks nicer. It looks more neat with the conveyor lift. Straight lines, everything perfect, beautiful. Again, another conveyor lift. Unnecessary, but straight lines. Isn't that... That's just like me. You know, they give me a building game that lets me build wherever I want, and I'm confining it to straight lines, just like in Factorio. I'm a menace. I'm a menace to society. Okay, this is where I produced my biofuel previously, but I kind of don't need it anymore. Well, I need solid fuel for my chainsaw, but I use it so rarely now. I was hurting for biofuel because of, you know, there's not a lot around here. But we're good now, because now I got coal. Okay, so this is my main square. Let's head into the factory. So, my main... I feel like the game has a lot more visual effects now. Like, look at that. That's kind of nice. And then when the moon comes out, it feels like all neoned up and there's glare and shit everywhere. It's pretty good. The lighting effects, sometimes overdone, but I do like them. If I feel like I'm in a Michael Bay movie. Okay, so this is a mess, but I friggin' love it. It's like, it's not really a mess, but... Anyway, so my main lines of ingots come in through here. As you can see, the copper just pretty much goes straight through because we're not using it. I think. Yeah, so it actually merges here. That's right. Yeah. Oh, I'm not sure I'll keep that, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, so look at this shit. So we've got the ingots splitting off because we've got 2 runs of them coming into the factory. Then it conveyors down into a splitter here. One goes into this iron rod production thingy, and one pipes up to then go back into the main feed, and it merges with the one that's coming on from over here. So let's have a look at this one. So this one does the exact same thing. It conveyors down, merges, and goes into iron plate production. And then that goes across, around, down here, splits again. One goes into rod production. We always need more rods. And the other one goes up, around, around back into the merger, right? So that now we've got all of our iron plates from the two smelters way back there coming out into one here. Okay, so now let's take the stairs up. So I used to produce screws in that space down there, but it just wasn't enough. You need more screws. So I doubled my iron rod production and then sent the, oh, hang on, there we go. So where are the rods going? Where are the rods going? Oh, that's right. So I think, oh, that's right. Rods. Okay, see the rods? The rods are going out there, out the wall, and then coming up the side here into a splitter, and then into my screw production facilities. Now, again, I could stand to throw more rods at the problem, and this is where I'm producing concrete out of the stone. So it's exactly the same. It's just mirrored, splitting into two concrete constructors, and then funneling down and into that handy dandy storage where I can just grab it when I'm on the ground, so I don't have to even come up here. I love it. See, that's nice. There's two layers of logistics you have to worry about. There's the factory, and then there's your how do I put this? You having to live in the world, you know? I could have easily just not had storage and gone up the stairs to get the concrete straight out of the constructors if I want, or put the storage up on the roof. But that would have been tedious, and I would have hated getting concrete whenever I needed it, because I've got to run up the stairs and it's kind of finicky. The movement is super floaty, and I get that they're probably trying to simulate a low gravity environment, and they want you to be able to jump further than you normally would in Earth gravity. But honestly, it's super slidey and floaty, and I kind of wish you stuck to the ground a lot more. I can't tell you how many times I've tried to jump onto something and just like way overshot it, or landed and then like slipped off. I hate it. I really do. Anyway, okay, cool. So then the screws are funneling back down, coming along the wall here, and then out with the original outlet from the factory. I friggin' love this shit, dog. Then that comes into this whole mess where we're producing motors and iron, and refined iron plates. Is that right? Reinforced iron plates, and rotors, not motors. The same difference. Similar deal, and then they get pumped out through here, both of them, and then they go into this factory, which is a little underdone. I just sort of did it in a hurry, which is just one production structure producing smart plating, which I actually disconnected it, but now I can reconnect that. Let's climb up the factory here. There we go. Look at him go. There you go. And we go, oh, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. It's like, it's so finicky to try and land on something. Come on, come on, come. Let's try that again. Let's try that again, huh? Okay. So then I gotta jump up on here. That's fine. Don't go too far. Oh, God. Okay. Hey, how you doing? So then this is trucking along. So the reason I stopped it is because I wanted to grab some rotors, because I hate manual crafting. I just needed rotors to advance to the next technology level. So and again, this is all straight, aligned to the grid. So just to be super clear, there is no grid on the ground, but there is a grid on foundations. That's why I got foundations everywhere. It just happens to work out really well as like, because we've got these rocks and the foundations are almost like a sea of concrete between the rocks. It's great. So then we come down here. Again, we could easily just have ramped down. But no, everything must be straight. The factory must be precise and it must grow. And that's going into my space elevator. Is that what they call it? Yeah, it's a space elevator. And that's essentially our research that gets us more options for building. Okay, speaking of more options for building, let's talk about the awesome shop. This, I don't know when this came in. I'm assuming update 3. I hadn't seen the awesome shop at all before. So we'll look at the shop first, and then we'll talk about how you actually get money to buy things in the shop. So I know this looks microtransaction-y. It's not. I hope it won't be in the future. I don't know. I'm just speculating. So you earn in-game fix-it coupons to spend at the awesome shop. This is a great idea because the premise of it is a great idea. Execution I'm not too happy with. The reason it's a great idea, in my opinion, is because it gives you something to do once you've unlocked all the building options, right? Picture this. You've built a dank factory in order to upgrade, all to get into to funnel into the space lift for research or whatever, so you can build more things and get more technologies so that the factory grows further, and it's all this cycling thing. You build more so that you can build more. When that's done, what do you do with the output? You got all this stuff pumping out of your factory and nowhere to go. So you can funnel it into this structure that I'm going to show you in a second, that then gives you tickets, and it's kind of like grinding for XP. Every ticket you got to put more resources into the factory to get the next ticket, and then you buy your tickets. So you spend your coupons on stuff in this shop. Now that's a cool idea. What I dislike about it is there's some important things in here that I kind of should just be given to you as part of the regular tech tree production. Progression, rather, is the word I'm looking for. Such as walls. So you got standard walls, but then like doors and conveyor outlet walls. I feel like that should be in the main tech tree. That's a weird choice. Conveyor wall mounts, again, that should be in the main tech tree. Even power outlets, so you can funnel power through walls, that should be in the main tech tree. Fancy foundations, that's fine. Cool with that. We don't need them. They're not essential. They're just niceties. A little vehicle that I haven't unlocked yet. That looks like it would be fun. A little buggy to take around your station. Your factory. These ones, handrails, stairs. I feel like stairs should be part of the main tech tree. The walkways, all right, fine. You got statues, which is fun. And then equipments and parts. So I think these are just like, hey, if you've got an excess of coupons and you need resources real quick, you can just buy a bunch of them, which is nice. I don't hate that. That's cool. It gives you something to do. So yeah, I really like that idea. I just wish some of the things that they're selling in the awesome shop were just standard part of the tech tree, like they used to be, because they did used to be. Anyway, so here's the awesome sink. This is what you funnel resources into to get coupons for the awesome shop. Oh, we've got one. Let me grab that one. So as you can see, it's points until next coupon. Like it's just like grinding for XP. So we've got 180 points per minute currently. I've had more than that. But what I'm doing is just funneling copper into the awesome shop, because I'm not using this copper currently. I'm pretty sure the resource nodes are infinite. I hope. Anyway, I'm not using that copper node currently, so I'm just have it grinding away. I don't have to think about it. Otherwise, you get more points for various things. I think I was getting more points when I was funneling ingots into it. At first, I thought it was like a 1-to-1 correlation, that the more refined the resource was, the more points you get for it. That might not be the case. There might be a little more nuance to it. That might be like the general rule, but I think there's a little more nuance to it. I'd have to play around with the system a little more to figure that out. Anyway, so that's how that works. Again, nice that it's in there. I just wish we had default access to some of the things they're selling in the awesome shop. Okay, coal production. I was super lucky, I gotta say. Yeah, around this area of the base for whatever reason, might be the coal, I'm not sure. It does get a little bit stuttery. I was super lucky that coal was so close to the base, just right here. And water you saw on the other side was pretty close too, so you need both. So this is great. Coal used to be so tedious to get. Coal power was so tedious to set up. But now we're good. Okay, so the coal funnels in. It goes over here, we got a little walkway, and then it splits off into our coal generator, number 1, and then splits off again into number 2, and splits off again into number 3. So, we have a capacity of 225 megawatts. We're producing and consuming up to like 98, 99, almost 100. So if we exceed the capacity, the whole system shuts down. And it was happening with just 2 of them. I need 3. Oh, there we go. We're spiking. 120? Yo, okay. We're good. 3 is more than enough for what we're currently doing. But, you know, I've cordoned out space for 2 more. We can fit 2 more in there and then a little bit of extra space here. Oh, God. See, it's getting stuttery here. I'm not sure what it is about this area of the base. It's probably the coal, the power specifically, not the resource coal. Yeah, and then the water gets piped into each one. And this is where I was like, hey, yo, the piping is a lot more lenient than I was expecting, and I appreciate that. You can just like, you know what? I'll show you. If we get rid of that, let me grab my pipe. And it's really quite flexible. Which I like. Just put that back in there. It's nice. It's good. And then I might put like, God, I don't know. Where is it? Where even is it? Organization? A fluid buffer? So there's just like a water tank essentially. Here, maybe? Or if there's space on the edge. We'll see. I don't really need it right now. But we can put that in later. Rad. Yeah, so there you go. There's my base. I'm having a lot of fun with it. I've talked some smack about the game. I have. And that just like... Here's the thing. I don't do these videos about games I don't like. Unless it's like... Unless I got something, you know, fun to say about it. So that proves that I like the game. I do. I mean, the proof is in the pudding in that I've spent how long this week playing this? It's a bit shameful. How many hours have we got on this? 23 hours. Oh, God. Oh, God. I did it. I was playing in preparation for this video, but I couldn't stop. I was genuinely having fun. Iterating, refining the factory. There's more to be done. There's so much more to be done. You can thank Stevens for this, because he brought me into his world, and it got me inspired. So I'm at the point where I think I've got miner Mark IIs, so it's time to replace our regular miners with those. Oh, it's going to be this whole thing. It's a whole friggin' thing. Anyway, I really enjoy the game in its current state. I think it's come a long way. Not with like huge, sweeping, drastic changes, but, you know, it's just been refined. Ironically, or aptly, rather. A game about refining resources has been refined and is now more fun to play. Isn't that amazing? I really like the new starting area. I really, really like the new starting area, I should say. And yeah, I feel comfortable recommending this. So if you've been hanging out, if you were interested in this and you're like, I ain't into the epic thing, or, you know, want to wait until it's a little more fleshed out, early access and all that, you know, I think it's still in early access, but now might be the time to give it a try. I do wholeheartedly enjoy this game and recommend it. So there you go, guys. Oh, Satisfactory. Have you played it? Have you been following along with the progress? What do you think of the game? How do you think it compares to Factorio? Factorio, baby. That's my jam right there. Just, look, I feel like Satisfactory is just going to get me back into Factory. Alright guys, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to gently caress that like button, taste the game, be excellent to each other, and I'll see you next time. Ricky Summer, out.